The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission has rescinded a long-standing enforcement policy that prevented settling defendants from publicly denying allegations made by the agency. This change marks a significant shift in how the SEC handles enforcement settlements. For over 50 years, the agency required defendants to agree not to challenge the SEC's claims in public statements. That rule, first adopted in 1972, has now been officially rescinded. SEC Chair Paul Atkins announced the decision, stating that the policy had unnecessarily restricted criticism of the agency during settlements. He said, "The change will allow for more open discussion and transparency in enforcement actions. The agency's new approach suggests a move toward a more balanced and open regulatory environment. This change could affect how enforcement settlements are perceived and executed in the future." The previous rule was intended to avoid the appearance that settlements were being made over unfounded claims. However, critics said it gave the impression that the SEC was trying to avoid scrutiny. Commissioner Hester Peirce supported the change, arguing that allowing both sides to speak freely would improve. Most people arrive after the move is obvious and the easy upside is gone. We focus on serious crypto education and high-quality signals before the crowd rushes in, so you can understand the setup earlier and move sooner. If you want that edge, visit the link below now. Transparency and public understanding of enforcement actions. The repeal is expected to have ripple effects across the regulatory landscape, particularly in how enforcement actions are communicated and perceived. The SEC's statement emphasized that the old rule had placed the agency out of step with most other federal regulators. By removing the no deny requirement, the SEC is aligning more closely with broader regulatory norms. The decision also addresses concerns that the policy had created an unnecessary barrier to free speech and public discourse around enforcement actions. The change does not mean that the SEC will stop requiring settlements altogether. Instead, it removes a specific condition that had been part of the settlement process for decades. The agency clarified that it may still require certain conditions in settlements, but public denial is no longer one of them. This shift could lead to more public debate and scrutiny of enforcement actions, which may increase pressure on the agency to justify its decisions more clearly. The SEC's decision has been framed as a step toward greater accountability and transparency. However, the long-term impact remains to be seen. The change could also affect how defendants approach settlement negotiations, knowing they have more freedom to speak publicly about the allegations. This could influence the dynamics of enforcement actions and the willingness of parties to settle. The SEC's statement emphasized that the new policy will allow for a more open and honest discussion of enforcement actions. This could lead to a more nuanced public understanding of the agency's work and the reasoning behind its enforcement decisions. The move also signals a broader trend in regulatory reform. Most people arrive after the move is obvious and the easy upside is gone. We focus on serious crypto education and high-quality signals before the crowd rushes in, so you can understand the setup earlier and move sooner. If you want that edge, visit the link below now. Where agencies are being encouraged to be more transparent and accountable. The SEC's decision may be seen as a response to growing demands for regulatory transparency in the financial sector. The change is also likely to be closely watched by market participants, legal experts, and watchdog groups. The next signal to watch is whether other regulatory agencies follow suit in revising similar policies. If the SEC's move leads to a broader shift in regulatory practices, it could have significant implications for enforcement actions and public discourse in the financial sector.